Summary of Designing the Mind. The Principles of Psychitecture by Ryan A. Bush. With the right cognitive tools, it is possible for anyone to make modifications to their own psychological software, their mind. The pursuit of self-mastery has further developed to encompass three major components: cognitive, emotional, and behavioral. The reason we cannot perfectly predict human behavior is that our minds are most complex machines ever to exist so far. Our genes don't determine everything we will become, but they do determine how much we can be shaped by experiences during early childhood, adolescence, and adulthood, which, for all, is quite a bit. It is possible for you to alter your brain in ways that result in functional changes. Genetic engineering could alter the mind biologically, increasing intelligence, creativity, or any other desired quality. Virtual or augmented reality technology may become so advanced as to be indistinguishable from reality, connect directly into our nervous systems, and allow us to live in worlds currently unimaginable. Furthermore, an advanced understanding of the mind may allow us to perfectly simulate the human brain through digital computers and upload our consciousness to the cloud. There are tools that can be unlocked right now by anyone without any external technology. We might call these tools psychotechnologies. The most powerful way to improve the brain at this point in history is through its software, through your thoughts and actions. Neuroplasticity refers to the brain's ability to change and reorganize throughout the life of an individual. You can build new neural pathways and reinforce or diminish old ones through learning, conditioning, and practice. Everything you do or experience alters your mind. People who view their strengths as malleable are found to be more successful in their endeavors and more fulfilled in life. If our sights are clearly set on the reworking of our own thoughts, emotional reactions, and behaviors, what is stopping us from gradually rerouting the neural pathways of well-being? Neuroplasticity gives us the ability to gradually improve at things through consistent and sustained effort. And mastery is a relative term which does not indicate that one can reach a point at which no further progress can be made. By becoming intimately aware of the mistakes that we would like to relinquish, by working out the disadvantageous habits and building advantageous ones, we can develop the ability to increasingly determine our own subjective experience. Psychitecture is self-directed psychological evolution, the act of deliberately reprogramming your own psychological operating system. Our goal is not freedom from the algorithms that make up our minds, but the autonomy to transform the algorithms which don't serve us into algorithms which do. The way your mind is structured will determine the person you become, the life you live, and the fulfillment you realize. When you modify your mind, you edit the operating system at your core and change your personal trajectory. And when you make a persistent occupation of this endeavor, you become the architect of your own character. When you engage in psychitecture, you begin by acknowledging the current state of your mind and envisioning the ideal one. Psychitecture's aim is to reform biologically ingrained habits and tendencies of all forms. Its goal is to rewrite the mental biases, distortions, and assumptions that cause us to make mistakes, the unnecessary suffering we fall victim to on a regular basis, the mentalities that hold us back in life, and the impulses that lead us away from our ideals. We need to closely examine our thoughts, emotions, values, and drives, as well as the relationships among them, and correct the misperceptions which have been built into us. Metacognition has been defined as knowledge and cognition about cognitive phenomena. You could view it as thinking about your thinking or awareness of your own field of awareness, and the metacognitive perspective is the foundational viewpoint for psychitecture. Mindfulness is a metacognitive strategy which has been defined as the awareness that emerges through paying attention on purpose in the present moment and non-judgmentally to the unfolding of experience moment by moment. Mindfulness allows us to press pause on our software so we can step in and reprogram it. Choose to identify as the designer of your mind rather than as your mind itself. Before you unplug, beliefs are simply the truth. Values are good and bad. Goals are automatically worth pursuing. Emotions unconsciously color our experience. Desires are in control. But after unplugging, you gain the ability to step back and observe what is really going on. Once you've unplugged, notice how things look from here. Notice that thoughts are just thoughts, beliefs just beliefs, emotions just emotions. All are simply the reflexive algorithms of a robotic mind, not reality. Our chief cognitive concern is to perceive reality as clearly and accurately as possible. Though it may be the most brilliantly complex thing in the universe, the human mind is riddled with false assumptions, perceptions, and beliefs. But contrary to popular belief, memories do not neutrally depict events as they happened, but reconstruct and change those events every time they are evoked. You need to work to build the habit of noticing the indicators of flawed thinking and beliefs. Just as our brains are optimized to find useful patterns over accurate ones, we were built to seek companionship and community over truth. The bandwagon effect refers to our tendency to come to conclusions and make decisions based on what is popular, though we often find ways to rationalize these decisions to ourselves. Some of the most pervasive motivations behind our biases stem not from how we want to see the world or how we want others to see us, but how we want to see ourselves. The desires related to our sense of identity can be the hardest to change. The minute we develop a belief, we start developing attachments to it. From this point forward, it is our mind's default behavior to stack up the evidence in its favor. You can then use the method known as Socratic questioning to identify potential holes in your beliefs. Treat your beliefs as if they were someone else's beliefs you were arguing against. Build the best argument you can against them, and identify the assumptions and weak points of your views. It is my goal to encourage you, on behalf of the many great psychitectural thinkers, to seek truth wherever it leads. Rationality is a core building block of wisdom. Good decisions in your life, your relationships, and your career or business depend on the ability to think clearly and learn properly. If your happiness is dependent on false beliefs, it means you have become reliant on coping structures which have been built on a bad foundation, and as soon as storms come in and reality crashes against your shoddy models of it, you'll be hit with pain and confusion. Your mind is not a delicate garden that needs to be protected from all threats, but a powerful, anti-fragile immune system. And by questioning all of your beliefs and assumptions, you can inoculate yourself against the pain and confusion of facing the facts, and your worldview can become more and more robust. You cannot live a coherent life without investigating your own internal variables and factoring them into your decisions. Failing to understand yourself, Your flaws and vices, or strengths and potential can hold you back immensely. Your self-limiting beliefs might just be the single largest factor separating the best and worst versions of you. To truly be able to claim that your values belong to you, you must go through an extensive process of uprooting the relics of your early indoctrination and examining them with critical rigor. Studying the ideas and values of other thinkers may seem like it would only indoctrinate us to their ways of thinking, but the thoughts of others can give us great insight into our own minds. If you or your groups consider an issue to be obvious, ethically simple, and taboo to question, questioning it is exactly what you must do. The most important relationship in your life is your relationship with yourself, which will degrade if you fail to dedicate quality time to it. Self-limiting beliefs may be the single largest factor separating the best and worst versions of you. Be bold in questioning the values espoused by your culture and social circles. Wisdom is the pinnacle of cognitive self-mastery, the first pillar of the self-mastery triad. The sooner you begin the endeavor to acquire wisdom, the greater your ability to increase your satisfaction in life. What ultimately matters is the foundation underlying your aspirations, and it has been found that those who are capable of resisting the temptation of desire and delaying gratification in favor of a more rational choice are more successful and happy in life. Desires don't point to happiness, and their gratification is no more likely to result in it than their denial. Desire can be programmed by pleasure, but just like in the training of a dog, it is the immediate pleasures that reinforce these desires. We have to stumble onto happiness because our well-being fluctuates independently of desire gratification. In order to attain genuine fulfillment, we have to learn to quit trusting our wants as valid indicators of what will genuinely satisfy us. Desires are like the gas in a car. They are what fuel us, but they should always be subordinate to reason. Reason is the steering wheel that coordinates the aimless and often conflicting sea of drives in a strategic and coherent direction. But reason must always be subordinate to our values. We have to use reason to set rational goals, but those goals have to be guided by our emotional values to be worthy ends. Our values are the compass, or perhaps the GPS coordinates for our direction. Our ideals determine the ideal direction, and our rational mind and desires work together to get us there. All decisions must be made with your head and your heart, but each has a very specific place. When you take any action, you must carefully observe the satisfaction it brings and how long it lasts. Just as the feeling of cognitive confusion should raise a red flag in your mind, the dissonance between your expected emotional consequences and actual ones should grab your attention. You cannot keep living your life without adjusting the algorithms which led you to faulty decisions. You must revise your beliefs about your own well-being to prevent yourself from making the same mistakes indefinitely. The key to setting and pursuing good, defined goals is to use our values to determine our ends, reason to determine the best means to get there, and desires to fuel us toward them. The fact that you can control your emotions is well-established psychological fact. Emotions arise from a discrepancy between a desired goal and our perceptions of our current status in relation to it. Every time we experience a negative emotion, we are given the gift of reinterpretation, and this reinterpretation is a key leverage point of controlling our emotions. Reappraisal is an active process of replacing old pathways of reasoning with new, more accurate ones. You can actually become so quick at reappraising a situation that you bypass the negative emotion altogether. Reappraisal is an in-the-moment strategy we can use anytime we are dealing with an undesired emotion. Whether or not we are fully conscious of it, we choose irrational interpretations. And counterintuitively, we do it because it feels good. With enough practice, you can learn to instantly identify the irrational thoughts that will cause you to suffer. You can develop the knowledge and discipline to take control of the ongoing story your brain is spinning. A key truth about emotions, which was emphasized by the philosophy of Stoicism, is that they are rarely triggered directly by events in our lives and are almost always reactions to our cognitive interpretation of these events. Reappraisal, also called reframing, is the act of reinterpreting the meaning of an emotional stimulus, altering the resulting emotional trajectory. The desires that pull us away from our goals are called temptations. The desires that push us toward our goals are called fuel. To upregulate a desire, focus purely on the desired stimulus and all of its most positive aspects and delicious details. We can also downregulate a desire. To do this, distract yourself from the desired stimulus. Focus on it in a purely objective, even alienating way, and cultivate a noun-attached awareness of the feelings associated with the desire. Gratitude can be used as a method for upregulating all desires for what you already have, while downregulating desires for what you lack. By generating conflicting desires, you hedge your bets against unwanted outcomes and turn every outcome into a wanted one. If you can develop the ability to neutralize all of your desires, you can then upregulate and downregulate them precisely in order to achieve the goals which align with your ideals. Because we are creatures of habit, our behaviors have a strong influence on what we become. If you find yourself unable to endure basic economy flights, enjoy camping trips, or are unhappy whenever the thermostat is not set to the perfect temperature, you have become overly reliant on comfort. This dependency will limit your ability to be content in all but the rare perfect scenario. For every type of perpetual desire you are able to renounce, you remove complication from your life. You teach yourself what is important to you through your behaviors, so behave wisely. Carve out as many alternate paths to your higher goals as you can. Invest desire toward the goals with the highest and most probable emotional return. When it seems likely that a certain goal will not pan out and its outcome is out of your control, downregulate your desire for that outcome or counteract it with an opposing desire. Pursuing intrinsic goals, like playing tennis to the best of your ability rather than winning the match, is an excellent way of eliminating the suffering of failure. Desire for the present to be different from the present incites pain, but desire for the future to be different from the present incites action. Emotions exist for the purpose of triggering adaptive behaviors. A person who can stand her ground while responding to aggressors with compassion, humor, and reasonable consideration will win more battles than one who goes into a rage. Learn to view every frustration you encounter as a test of mental strength, and you will get better and better at maintaining your patience, levity, and control. The opinions and comments of others often have more to do with their own insecurities than any meaningful statement about us. If you measure yourself by your unique combination of qualities and strengths instead of a one-dimensional metric, you will rarely come across people worth envying. When we fully understand that all things must end, we can learn to appreciate the finite amount of time we have with others and celebrate the end rather than repeatedly mourning the tragedy of impermanence. If you love someone, you will want to promote their flourishing as an individual, not as a possession. If emotional resilience is getting back up after getting knocked down, emotional robustness is not getting knocked down in the first place. We improve ourselves by exposing ourselves to difficulties so our minds learn to deal with them effectively. We optimize our software by identifying and reprogramming the emotional algorithms likely to be triggered by the events in our lives. You have to learn to stabilize your emotions before you can use them proficiently. Do not allow your strength in one area to justify your weakness in another. Anger often only punishes the person experiencing it and rarely serves our goals. Learn to view every frustration you encounter as a test of mental strength, and you will get better and better at maintaining your patience, levity, and control. Behavioral self-regulation deserves to be regarded among the highest of human strengths. The problem with the modern world is that it optimizes for our drives, not for our values. We must design our lifestyles intentionally, applying the process of reflecting on our values and setting goals to the way we spend our time and energy. We have to learn to develop increasing control over ourselves, and the key is not so much moderation as it is intentionality. By the time most people reach 30, they've carved themselves into a life that leaves them no room for growth and accepted that this is simply the norm. This kind of stagnation is not inevitable, but you must build the habit of continually breaking out and expanding your comfort zone to prevent it. You must learn to do what scares you. Choosing anything other than growth is a sure path to regret. And allowing your craving for comfort to stand in the way of your unique potential is one of the most common barriers to living the greatest life possible and aligning with your ideals. Live your life not as if you were trying to hoard a precious treasure, but as if you were crafting your own autobiography with every decision, because you are. The secrets to self-control and good habits lie in the management and training of these desires. The world around us shapes us in powerful ways. We can make ourselves resistant to the manipulation of others, but we can't eliminate all influence our environment has on us. For us, the environment is a powerful tool for shaping our software. In many ways, the process of designing your environment is the process of designing yourself. If you want to be highly driven, you have to find a way to connect your goals with your innate fascinations. Self-mastery represents the degree to which you are capable of aligning with your own ideals. In other words, it is your ability to become a great individual and live a great life by your own standards. You can only be as happy as your mind is programmed to be. If losing all of your possessions, circumstances, social standing, and relationships would deprive you of all your happiness, what you have cannot be called happiness in the first place. Nothing you gain in life is yours. Your psychological software is your sole possession. It is the best investment you can make, one of the few things you can start developing now and get to keep for the rest of your life. When your external world is in chaos, you can place your focus on your internal world. Let your mind become your sanctuary. Build a palace of clarity and peace within you that you can visit anytime. Your environment, lifestyle, and relationships will inevitably shape your mind and change you. If you romanticize or justify your life as it is, it will keep you locked in a place that may not have a positive effect on you. The truth is that many, if not all, of the so-called evil people in the world are simply lacking in self-mastery. It is the decision to cave in to our misaligned desires, not the mere presence of those desires, which represents a lack of wisdom or self-control. The only truly insurmountable barrier to psychitecture is the failure to take on the project at all. Psychitecture is a mindset which can allow you to increasingly embrace and enjoy life. It is about getting out of your own way and removing the obstacles to the full appreciation of this incredible world. The purpose of psychitecture is not just to decrease suffering, but to pursue greatness and active flourishing. If we want to truly improve the world, we need to train people to build systematically better minds. Our emphasis on making people happy needs to shift to making happy people. And the evolution of society begins with the evolution of the individual mind. This evolution cannot be left to chance. It must be the result of deliberate design conducted by each person and directed toward the highest values within them. No matter who you are or where you're starting from, know that you have the power to transform your software and attain self-mastery. You can design your mind.